Hey guys, it's Matthew here once again, and no, you're not alone. This is a pretty difficult league mechanic, but it's goddamn fun at the same time. First of all, I want to split this video into two parts. One talking about the league mechanic, everything I know about it, and the other about some of the Transfigured gems and what I might be excited about there. Because I didn't put out a starter video, I was a bit pressed for time with this Omega cosplay I just did in the past 24 hours. I was supposed to be Ultimatum Man, and I think it came out kind of well enough. So no starters, and I'm kind of just winging my own build. But to begin with, I did want to talk about the new league mechanic for Affliction and everything I know about it. So it is functionally in the end similar to, I suppose, Sentinel, where a bunch of mobs will end up getting empowered, and it is kind of hefty in the empowering process. Things feel like they've got 5 to 10 times more life or damage reduction than they otherwise would have. They might be dealing a bit more damage, but it's certainly more about the fact that they live a lot longer or attack a lot faster, and it is a bit random. So what happens is the start of a zone, you go into this little delve-like area, you explore it a bit, following the wisps if you so choose to. Basically, as far as we can tell, if you follow along a line of wisps and just keep traversing around them, then you come across something that's going to have a bit of an encounter and then have some chests around it that are fairly rewarding. So if you want to do that, you certainly can. Otherwise, you can kind of like blindly run around looking for the NPCs. If you find the NPCs, the first one you'll find is usually around Act 2, I think. That's when you can pick an ascendancy aligned with the NPC you find. If you pick that ascendancy, great, you are now that ascendancy, and you'll follow along a quest chain from that sort of NPC as you find them more randomly throughout the next following zones. But you can otherwise change to a different sub-ascendancy if you find a different NPC some other time. You can then swap back and forth based on who you find whenever you want. Your progress will be kept, but typically it's pretty worth just going with one of them and trying to quest along with them. The first one I picked was the one that gave movement speed for boots, because it's pretty crazy for leveling. You get movement speed if you don't have any sockets in your boots, and then also I did the resist for hat thing for a bit, and then I started doing tinctures as well. So to buy and use these tinctures, you do get them from the vendor. You buy them using the wisp power you will accumulate through the area. You can either use some of that wisp power to buy stuff from the vendors, or just leave the zone, and then that wisp power will spread throughout your map and make enemies stronger, but also more rewarding. Like I said, it is pretty difficult once you do that. We have been dying plenty, we have been having longer fights. For the most part, it is probably a bit overtuned, but that is certainly how they like to start these mechanics, new league mechanics, out with a bit of overtunedness, something a bit more challenging for the people coming back to PoE that have already beaten everything. But at the moment, if it's too challenging for you, you certainly can just like be more over leveled or skip the mechanic for as long as you so need to. I'm sure it'll be toned down a bit in the future, but it's honestly not too bad right now. It's very, feels very oppressive and difficult, but we are all weak piece of shit characters. Keep that in mind. The league start always has you feeling very weak, given that you have no gear, very little passives, etc., and you're probably trying an experimental skill. So as I was saying, with the tinctures, that will be applying purely to your weapon, so you cannot spell use tinctures. It's for weapon attacks only, and you must spec into that first tincture point to be using it. You just set it on your bar instead of a flask, apply it one time by like pressing it. Doesn't have to be applied to the weapon, like right clicking onto the weapon. You just press it one time and then it'll work, and if you press it again, it'll deactivate. Careful for that. There's going to be some crazy stuff with the tinctures. I think there's a lot of like good shit there with poisons from all your sources, ignites, shocks. There's going to be some crazy stuff for sure. So that's what I'm currently speccing. The others are also pretty cool by the looks of it. You can become, a bit more blood magic-y. You can use Penance Mark. You can get lots of ascendancies. The ascendancy things seem to be pretty good from what we've seen so far. You get them very early on. You can buy them from the vendors as you see those vendors throughout the zones. So make sure you are checking every single NPC you come across throughout your Affliction zones and seeing what they have for sale. So they will have a purchase window, and if you find, you know, the NPC, check what they've got, check if there's anything nice on there. But it seems like they're fairly plentiful, and you'll probably be able to buy whatever you want from trade at the end of the day. So the actual zones themselves, you're a bit blind going through them. You will occasionally come across the NPCs, you will occasionally come across like a mini boss or a boss, and they're somewhat challenging. They're nothing too crazy. There was one particular random boss that I came across that felt like it was designed to beat the shit out of you, and maybe you take it on and can kill it later in the game. But the level that I came across it at, around 50 or something, it was absolutely unbeatable, and it just teleported every time I hit it, and I'm in a build that attacks a lot, so it was teleporting a lot. It was crazy. So as far as I can tell, the mechanic is very fun at the moment. I'm 10 levels over near the end of the campaign, itself, and I've had a lot of fun doing it. It's fairly rewarding. It is very challenging, so keep that in mind. It's probably going to get tuned down at some point, but you know, if you feel like doing the challenge, by all means, go for it. Follow the wisps to get to the bigger rewards. Don't follow the wisps and just run around blindly. Maybe you'll find the NPCs and then get your ascendancies, and that's going to make things quite a lot nicer. So then, provided that I didn't actually put out any starters, like I've got a fucking catalog of builds that you could have played from last league. Some can be turned into starters. You can do all the starters from the past, like maybe 5 leagues still. That's perfectly fine too. Or you can try and experiment, do some other new shit. Or you can follow one of the starters that some other people put out too. It shouldn't be too hard to figure out how to get going, but there's a whole bunch of new gems and experimental shit. I personally have been looking at going something poisony like Scourge Arrow, Toxic Rain, something like that. And that's what I started out my character with, and maybe I'll go like Scourge Arrow or Barrage, Pathfinder in the end. Basically, I wanted to experience the new Ranger voice lines, so I just started blindly enough with a Ranger, and I'm just leveling it and picking stuff as I go. But I wanted to go over just a few of these Transfigured Gems posts to see what I'm kind of looking at and what I'm thinking about some of these in particular, maybe for the future, etc., so you can get an idea of what I think might be on the horizon. So there are 5 posts at this point, and that was all of them. They're not going to release any more at the moment. Maybe they'll work on them during this league, otherwise in the next league. But of the 5 posts, I'd say there's like 50 plus gems I'm looking at that I think I could do something with that. So that's freaking crazy. To begin with though, of these, like, yeah, maybe Bear Trap sounds kind of meme. This Blade Vortex of the Scythe sounds like it's going to be kind of interesting. More of just a clear sort of thing for Blade Vortex. You just press it once instead of pressing lots of things, and then have a separate clear versus AoE setup. Single target versus AoE setup. And that's kind of feels like the theme for a lot of these things they're doing. Giving you a choice between like building more into pinpoint precision single target damage or some AoE clear, and maybe they want you to weapon swap a bit more. Either way, they are pretty interesting options, and that looks like it's going to be kind of cool. Body swap of sacrifice, I definitely want to look into this one. It seems like it's going to be fun with like minions, Herald of Purities, maybe summoning your own skeletons. Body swapping could be a lot of damage. Dual strike of ambidexterity. This thing actually I really wanted to kind of start with. I just then played dual strike. It was good enough for what it was, but this one's going to take it to another level, I think. You'll have like a really slow one hand in one fucking weapon slot, a really fast one in the other, kind of like a stat stick, and then base everything off of this and that. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun putting this one together. Don't know much about the Earth Shatters. The Essence Drain didn't really look too much at quickly, neither with the Frostblades. It's got a base damage over time thing. I don't know what the fuck you're supposed to do with that. Galvanic Arrow, this does not seem like it's going to be anything too special. This one might be, but I'm not too sure. Galvanic Field. I haven't like looked at all of these in too close you know, view. So take it for what it is. Just from the quick scan I've done, Penance Brand seems like it's going to be pretty nutty. I don't know about the alt qualities, but Penance Brand itself seems like it's got a lot of potential. It just maybe a jank playstyle. Perforate by itself, the new quality, I think it's going to be pretty freaking insane. With Bleed, I'm not too sure about, but just in general, the way it is, maybe this one with extra... huge extra clear, but then otherwise just regular perforate is going to be insane. Power Siphon, I think all versions of Power Siphon can be pretty crazy. Artillery, Rain of Arrows, I'm really interested to see what this one looks like. I think it's going to be pretty sick, just like a straight line of lots of arrows. Potentially just good for clear, maybe good for single target, we'll see, but I do definitely want to see that one. Righteous Fight of mana scaling. I don't typically do mana stack because I'm not big into that. Or RF, but the combo of this, it's kind of wacky, it's kind of weird enough that I think I might try my first RF if I have time to stack some mana and do an RF. We'll see. Otherwise, Scourge Area of the Menace, this is kind of what I'm about to try out and build into and see if it feels good. It's basically removed the channel time of Scourge Area and you're just going to be like firing them off, and maybe that's going to make it a much nicer playstyle before you fix a lot of attack speed. I think Storm Rains have a lot of potential, both of these do. And one thing I'll say about a lot of these, and also the Poison Tincture, the thing that's going to let everything poison, I think that's going to create a whole new meta of all kinds of poison stuff. So Storm Rain Poison is going to be pretty nutty, I think. Like, in general, think about what the Poison Dagger, Pneumatic Dagger from Heist did for poison skills there, and bring it to other things as well, so bows, wands, whatever. Everything can poison is going to be pretty nutty, and I think there's going to be lots of good combos. Storm Rain should be probably one of them. So other than that, here I haven't really looked too closely at them. The Toxic Rains I think is supposed to be pretty good, and then this Viper Strike is actually pretty spicy as well. So big poisons, big low tolerance stacking if you want to go that route. But I think the best thing this is going to do is create a nice play style for a melee poison build. Instead of like being there and, you know, attacking a lot and ramping and being in danger and constantly dealing with the pitfalls of what a melee has to deal with on large bosses, you basically attack once, run away, attack once, reposition, attack once, and it should be pretty nice. So that's definitely one to look at as well. As far as the others, Animate Ranged Weapon, from what I've heard already, it's pretty freaking crazy, but just playing my Animate Weapon that I already played, I have a, you know, strong suspicion this thing's gonna be busted as fuck. This thing seems really cool, you know, pair it with like some Energy Blade or something. Has kind of potential to be a hybrid style summoner attack based build. Both these Armageddon brands don't feel like they do much for me personally. Both these Ball Lightnings seem really crazy, and I'd love to try them both out. One static, one circular, and from what I've heard so far, they're both pretty good and fun. This Ethereal Knives is just bringing back the Blade Blast playstyle that I was talking about. This Exsanguinate should be really good for clear. Instead of having to attach chain to your other Exsanguinate sort of builds, you just have this one instead, and it does really good clear, and it still has very good damage over time. The Fire Trap doesn't do much for me. The Frenzy is just a complete meme. It's like for Mana Forge utility or some shit. Ice Trap does nothing for me. This Lacerate here with Bleed looks very spicy indeed, and I may have to make a fat Lacerate Bleed build with Jack the Axe, something like that. Lightning Trap looks absolutely nuts. I would love to play with that one as well. Chains, pierces, bouncing off stuff. I've wanted to make a Lightning Trap for a little while now. This Reeve is the old Reeve. It means nothing. Fuck it. Seismic Trap that you can use a lot more often might be kind of fun. It looks pretty good and kind of cool. Spectral Throw, this one's a bit sad, honestly. Like, returns to you in a spinning attack, only damaging enemies while returning. No damage on the way forward means that it's going to feel like absolute dog shit to play. I was hoping there'd be a better Spectral Throw thing, but this is all we get, and it's basically just giving us the Helm enchant that you would have otherwise had if you played Spectral Throw, but at a huge downside. So damage effectiveness wise, it still should be kind of the same, but playstyle wise, it should feel awful. Stormbrand seems like it might be okay. Not really looking at playing a Stormbrand personally anytime soon. Fuck a Stormbind. And then these are all minion stuff. Volatile Dead. These are kind of interesting. One that like summons a lot more quicker and then chases after them, and one that turns it into more of a Detonate Dead, so it doesn't really chase after targets anymore. So that one could be something, but I don't know. not sure you really want to go that route. As far as all these are concerned, Rage Vortex, this one should be pretty nuts. Like, a whole bunch more Rage Vortex action that attaches to you, that turns you into kind of a Blade Vortex. That's definitely something for people to look at. I'll kind of go through this a bit quick since these are already old at this point, so we don't really need to do too much. Both these Soul Rends seem like they could be pretty spicy. Hit-based crit Soul Rend that you can do a cast on crit. I think this one has huge damage potential for the scaling that it's got, and pure actual like trigger-based Soul Rend, maybe poison-based as well. Neither sparks or anything too special. Both spectral shield throws and shield crushes seem really cool for, you know, fire or cold viability without having to do any conversions. Splitting steel, you know, same thing as always. The Reapers looked particularly fun, you know, different types of Reapers, more Reapers, trigger Reapers. I'm not into Reaper at all, but I did think that was a kind of big win for the summoning community. This Sunder, it's basically old reverted Sunder. I absolutely want to give that one another shot in today's meta. And then you got Void Sphere that took away the cooldown. That's kind of crazy. Spamming Void Spheres everywhere. Should be pretty spicy. And then Vortex. I was actually thinking of starting this one because basically it's going to be an Ice Nova version of, you know, Frostbolt Ice Nova, but with Vortex instead, that has a lot more damage and a lot more hit base capability. And that's actually one I wanted to start with, but I wasn't sure I'd be able to get it, or, you know, how long it would take to ramp. And then Wild Strike of Extremes, basically Rakiatas on a Wild Strike. This should be cracked as fuck when you get it up and running with some good stuff. Rakiatas with the inverted is already insane, and then actually being able to apply this, once you fix the costs of everything, apply this to real weapons and real damaging type skills and stuff, not skills but type situations, should be absolutely insane, I think. So that should have very big damage potential. And there's honestly too much to talk about there, and it's too late in the evening, so just these three for now, I think. But that's kind of what I'm looking at. I think there's a lot of potential. I might end up re-rolling like every 2 or 3 days this league just so I can play more and get more done. But to begin with, I'm going to go into this kind of a, I think, Poison Pathfinder thing with like bows and see where it takes me. And yeah, that's all I'll kind of say for now. I need to just chill for a little bit, sleep a bit more, and then I'll log in and play a bunch more. But so far, so good. The league seems good. The Transfigured gems are very accessible, and a lot of them are very fun, very powerful. Hope you guys are having fun. I'll see you next time. Yeah. Sorry for the no starters or anything, but I'm only human, and I ran out of time. Take it easy. See you guys next time.